Certainly, one of the moments you don't expect to get scared or end up a bit traumatized is while watching animated shows or children's cartoons. But many of them have episodes, scenes, creatures, and scary characters, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Entities and creatures from cartoons that will give you nightmares. In Adventure Time, there are some characters that could easily be included here. In this video, for example, the Lich, Kokontep, or even that very strange deer that used to kidnap the others, or even Lemongrab. But let's talk here about Hanson Abadir. His character itself isn't that scary, at least not to me. But there are some things around the character that make him kinda creepy. Starting with the fact that he's a demon from the Adventure Time universe. He might even appear to be cute, like in this image here, or in that episode where he's caught wearing underwear and a tank top, having a snack late at night.
But
actually, he's an extremely powerful demon with the form of a vampire, and he rules over one of the hells in Adventure Time, which is the Nightosphere. In the episode where he appears for the first time, some rather strange and suspicious things happen. The way Hanson appears for the first time is simply with Finn performing a demonic summoning. There's no way to deny it, especially because the description of the summoning is the only way to summon ransom is to draw a happy face, soak it with insect milk, and sing the cruel chant in Latin.
Then you say something like Maloso vobis comet cum spiritum.
And Finn does exactly that, all while Marceline describes the enchantment to him. Basically, they swap the famous pentagram for a happy face, the blood for insect milk, and there's even a Latin enchantment. And as soon as Hanson appears, proving to be a creature of extreme evil, when he finds out Finn is a mortal, Hanson immediately tries to take a nice big suck of his soul. And when Finn was almost about to go play with Pelé, Marceline stops her dad. And if you don't want to get a soul suck from Hanson too, or if you do, right? Who knows? Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it, because it helps me a lot, okay? If possible, hype it up a bit. If you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to check out the card I'm leaving for you, and I'll also leave a playlist on the end screen for you. Don't forget to check out the pinned comment, and let's get back to the video. After that, Hanson goes around sucking the soul out of everyone he sees, until Finn manages to stop him. But Hanson has already done other extremely evil things, like trapping Marceline using her necklace in the Nightosphere, making her stay there against her will, and he was also summoned in a way very similar to a demon by Mordomo Menta, just to enchant a sword, which really reminds you of a spirit from Solomon. In Gumball, we don't have that many creepy episodes. Maybe the ones that would fit this the most are, for example, the Crazy Turtle episode, the Margaret Robson one, who would simply be the personification of chaos and evil in this universe.
Wait, please!
But what I find creepiest in Gumball isn't exactly in a specific episode, but in several. Just like in South Park, there's an alien that always appears, and in Adventure Time, there are some episodes where that snail is waving at us. In Gumball, we have this creepy clown here. A clown by itself is already very strange, but an ugly clown like this one, that's always staring at us while we're watching, makes it even worse. In the episode Procrastinators, where Gumball and Darwin are stalling to take out the trash, the two of them sit in the living room at one point and start drawing each other. Gumball draws Darwin with a huge mouth, and Darwin draws Gumball, but behind him there's also a window, and in that window is that bizarre clown.
Dude, you were supposed to draw the scenery. Why did you make a creepy clown outside the window and made it beautiful?
At that moment, Gumball even gets scared when he sees that the clown is actually there in the window. In this episode, it's not that bizarre, because the clown was sent to warn Gumball and Darwin to take out the trash. It was all a message from their mom.
take out the trash, it won't take long. If you think about it, you won't see Mom angry. Signed, Nicole Watterson.
But in other episodes, he ends up reappearing, and it's even weirder. When, for example, in the episode The Saint, he appears on television turning Alan's parents into two balloon animals.
Who wants to see the balloon tricks?
In the episode Heart, he appears in Darwin and Gumball's path in an extremely creepy way. In the 5th season, he appears a few times driving and looking at us even from afar. But the strangest things happen in the Chronicles of Gumball, where Leslie and Alan watch recordings from a cassette tape that are called the Elmore Curse. In it, we always see, there in the background, staring at the camera, the bizarre clown. In the end, everything is explained as Tobias playing a prank on everyone, but it's still bizarre. This one is more for the old-timers, huh? Castelo Ra Timbum.
Good, Castelo Ra Tim. Good, Castelo Ra Tim.
And for you, Enzo, who might not know what Castelo Ra Timbum is, it was a very well-known children's show that aired on television Cultura. It was a Brazilian production that had as its main character a boy named Nino, who lived in a magical castle with his uncle Victor and his aunt Morgana, who were great wizards. In this castle, there were several magical creatures, like a talking snake named Celeste, the doorman and the painted cat, and 2 little monsters that lived in the pipes, which I'll talk about in a moment. In this castle, Nino welcomed his friends, and there were even appearances by Brazilian legends like Caipora and Sachi. And so Castelo Ra Timbum has some episodes that could be included here, like the episode with the alien and the big bad wolf, which is the most famous one. But no, I'm not going to talk about any of those here. Instead, I'll talk about a specific and rather forgotten episode of Castelo Ra Timbum, but one that really scared me. This episode starts with Nino cleaning his uncle's library, which is full of dust. But while he's cleaning, he ends up finding a really strange book. Well, Nino gets extremely curious to find out what's in this book, grabs a pair of scissors and opens it, even though the cat is begging him not to do it. When he opens it, he starts reading what's written in the book, which was basically the word evil several times.
Meow, 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 meow.
Meow. And when Nino reads the words, it's like an earthquake starts happening in the castle. And that's when the 2 monsters who live in the pipes, or underneath the castle, come in. Their names are Godofredo and Mal.
Godofredo. Guys!
But this Mal, despite having that name, was actually really nice. But the moment Nino read the words from the book, Mal really became evil. And from then on, in the episode, you start hearing Mal's evil laugh in the background several times. And man, even today when I rewatch this episode, it feels really weird to hear his laugh. And along with his laugh, you also start to hear some characters there asking for help, calling for rescue, like Celeste, who is the talking snake.
One got away, but later I'm going to catch each one of you and chop you up.
The episode then continues with Nino's friends arriving to play with him. But when the castle door opens for them, Nino runs out of there. And realizing that his friends were trapped there with evil, he decides to go back, but the door closes. He then only hears evil laughing and his friends calling for help.
Careful! Get out of there! The monster!
And when he asks the doorman to open the castle door for him, he gets a surprise. The doorman had disappeared. We don't know exactly what happened, but probably evil got to him, which makes everything even creepier. Godofredo then goes inside and opens the door for Nino. But when Nino's friends leave, they hear the completely bizarre laughter of evil and Celeste's cry for help again, so they decide to go back and help. Then the one who opens the door is evil itself. And at this part, I actually got really scared.
Everyone, open this door, Godofredo.
Godofredo, open this door. Well, but the strangest part of the episode happens now. After they go back into the castle, they notice an absurd silence there. So they run to ask Aunt Morgana for help, who lived in the upper part of the castle. But when they go up the stairs, evil appears in front of them and says the following:
"Your Aunt Nino is sleeping forever."
Which implies that Aunt Morgana had passed away, if you know what I mean. After all, a children's show couldn't just say that the character died. But it's really bizarre, and that episode stuck with me a lot. Luckily, it all turned out to be a dream of Nino's. In the case of the Powerpuff Girls, there's no way to talk about any other villain except for him. Just the meaning of his name in the original case is already pretty bizarre. In English, his name would be Him, which stands for His Infernal Majesty, which translates to His Infernal Majesty. And as the narrator himself says, he's called that because people are so afraid, so terrified of him, that they can't even say his real name.
The only safe way to refer to this King of Darkness is simply as...
He would be one of the few villains from the Powerpuff Girls, if not the only one who actually manages to defeat them. And it's not even because of his strength itself, but because he attacks the Powerpuff Girls psychologically. He destroys them mentally. And the creepiest episode of the Powerpuff Girls, in my opinion, has him as the villain. This episode is called Speed Demon, or in Portuguese, Demônio da Velocidade. The episode starts with the girls very anxious for school to be over, because they were planning to spend the weekend in the Bahamas. And as soon as the bell rings, they decide to race each other home. And as soon as they take off, their teacher appears at the school door, waving goodbye to them. And keep this scene in your mind. Well, as they keep running and competing, they get so fast, but so fast that they distort the time around them. And when they get to their house, everything is already really weird. When they go down to Professor Antonio's lab, he's completely worn out. And it looks like he's trying to recreate the potion that created the Powerpuff Girls. And when the girls show up to talk to him, he thinks they're a hallucination and he kicks them out of there. And they realize that it's not just their house, but the whole city is completely destroyed. So they stop by the city hall, and there is Miss Bello crying over the loss of the mayor. She is also extremely devastated. Well, the girls leave there then and go to their school, and there they start to hear someone repeating the same phrase constantly. I stayed there giving...
Goodbye. I stayed there saying goodbye.
And as they came closer to see who was doing that, it was their teacher who stayed there saying goodbye from the moment they left for the race, which is a very, very uncomfortable scene that I remember to this day. Then we hear the sinister laugh of him. He appears and tells the girls that they ran so fast they traveled 50 years into the future. And in those 50 years that they were away from the city, he took over everything and took everyone to hell. And even with the girls hitting him, he doesn't get hurt at all. The whole situation will only be resolved when the girls end up escaping from the place and go back in time again and decide not to go on vacation anymore. SpongeBob has 2 episodes that, as I recall off the top of my head, made me really uncomfortable. The first one is when he goes to that lower place in the water, Deeper, which is a totally dark and bizarre place. And the second one, which is more memorable, is the one with the famous Chopper Joe. The episode starts with Mr. Krabs deciding to keep the restaurant open 24 hours. So SpongeBob and Squidward have to work the night shift too. And not only are Squidward and SpongeBob working at a time they're not used to at the restaurant, but we as viewers are too, because we're used to seeing SpongeBob working during the day. And when we see the Krusty Krab open at night, it's really weird. But it's not weird for SpongeBob, since he actually likes working at night at the beginning of the episode.
It's not cool, Squidward. There's never any time left to wash the ceiling during the day.
And Squidward, of course, gets completely crazy about it. And to get SpongeBob to stop bothering him, he asks him to take out the trash. But SpongeBob, who was excited about his night shift until then, gets scared to go outside and take out the trash because he realizes it's all dark.
I don't know, Squidward. It's kind of dark out there. But I thought you liked the night shift.
And Squidward, realizing this, decides to scare him a little more by telling the famous legend of Zaydo Picadinho.
The famous Zaydo Picadinho was a cook just like you.
that he makes everything right there on the spot. He tells SpongeBob that a cook who used to work there at the restaurant ended up cutting off his own hand and put a spatula in its place. And that same cook ended up dying after being run over by a bus and still got fired. But every Tuesday night, he would come back to the restaurant on the same bus that had run him over to get revenge on everyone. And he would send some signs of his arrival, like the lights flickering, the phone ringing with no one answering, and then the bus would show up. But Squidward didn't expect that all those signs he told SpongeBob about would actually happen. The lights really start to flicker, and it's not SpongeBob or Squidward trying to scare him. The phone rings and no one answers. Then a bus shows up late at night and drops off a very creepy figure on the other side of the street. As the figure gets closer to Squidward and SpongeBob, they get crazier with fear, until the figure reveals himself as someone who was just looking for a job, and he even called the restaurant to ask about the position, but he got embarrassed and didn't answer. But there was still the mystery of who was making the lights flicker. Then we get the biggest plot twist of the story. The one turning the lights on and off was none other than Felka.
Man, is that really right?
If you watched up to this point, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share the video. And if you have any ideas for another episode of a cartoon that's scary or disturbing, leave it in the comments, because who knows, there might be a part 2. Thanks, see you, bye.